So the big question is this: how are those in the self-storage industry like us going to be successful in today's market? That's the question, and this show will give you the answers. My name is Jim Ross, and welcome to the Self-Storage Show.
All right, I think we are good to go. How's it going, everybody? Let me double check a setting, make sure you can actually hear me before we get started too far into this process. Okay, I think we're good. All right, hope everyone's doing all right. It's been a little bit since I've done a live here. Been doing a lot of traveling lately. You name it. Seems like I've been there between New York and Louisiana and Missouri and North Carolina and Tennessee and you name it. Yeah, been around. But yeah, back to home base for a little bit, playing catch up. And anyway, I wanted to come on here today and talk about some remote operations. I was invited to be on a panel yesterday with Call Potential on their part of their webinar series. And it was a panel discussion with us talking about remote operations. It was great having others in the industry on there, and I love doing that kind of stuff. But also at the same time, I saw all the questions that were coming in. Like, all right, I need to make a list of these questions that are coming in, and do another segment just on my own, to kind of talk about it from my perspective as well. So I appreciate Call Potential for kind of being the launch pad of getting all those questions coming in, and I'll just take the ball and run with it for this segment here. So what we're looking at, let me just kind of go through it real quick. So I just wrote down the questions, and I figure I'll just bring them up and just kind of not saying wing it, but kind of wing it. We'll see what they are here. All right, so we got, first off, they got, well, of course, the basics. What is the remote self-storage business model? Generally, what that's going to be is, at least in my mind, my definition is not having a manager sitting at the facility 8 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week anymore. Switching that, and you're doing the remote self-storage business model by, a lot of times owners are, they're not there in that same city or close to it when it comes to what the sites are. They're either doing it themselves remotely, or they're having a property management company coming in and doing it remotely as well and managing the property. Two schools of thought there. But really, bottom line, this comes down to not having a traditionally staffed facility, in my mind. Not having a manager sitting there all day long and wearing all the hats, doing the sales calls and the collections and being the marketer and being the maintenance guy. It just kind of leads itself to a lot of inefficiencies. And when there's inefficiencies, there's going to be leaving money on the table every single month. So what we'll probably get into here a little bit later is a lot of owners, when they're doing this, and they realize it's a lot more profitable model running like this. So that's first and foremost. And I posed this yesterday as well when we were doing the discussion, and I changed it here to be remote self-storage business model. And hopefully we can all just start agreeing on a terminology when it comes to this, frankly. I've heard unmanned, I've heard unattended, I've heard automated, remote self-storage. Again, I personally, I'm gearing towards a remote self-storage business model that kind of fits a lot of the boxes and checks the boxes for me for that definition. So that's what I'm sticking with. All right, another one we got here. How did you get started with remote property management? Okay, I'll give you in a nutshell, basically how all this came about. With this, I've been in property management for many, many years, and I was as traditional as they came. I was go through my content, and you'll see me talking about, the managers, the backbone of the facility. You live and die by the quality of manager you have at your property and things like that. And then, manager would leave, and you have to go through the whole process again, and have to train somebody and get them up to speed for that property and being that person now. And I did that for years. And like many people, kind of got caught my pants down when COVID hit and had to be like, well, we have to change things, can't operate the same way like many of us were. And kudos for those guys that have been doing that model for years and years and years prior. I mean, you guys, yeah, we're well ahead of the curve. So that's awesome. But I used you guys to learn. Real quickly, I do summits and interviews and for the podcast and things like that. So I reached out to the guys that have been there and done that with this model. The Brad Minsleys of in the industry, Sparebox, Red Dot, those kind of guys. I reached out to those guys and was just talking with them about, cool, what are you doing? What's working? What didn't work? And just how the overall operations are when it comes to these remote managed properties. And just kind of getting a lot of same kind of answers and same kind of themes throughout. And so I'm like, all right, made my notes and put that in my own systems. And yeah, it really worked. So I had, of course, the first thing was getting the call center set up. So people taking the calls because, not having managers there anymore. And it was actually my managers were taking the calls. We had it kind of in-house that way. So that worked out great. Still had to have the boots on the ground guys. So, guys that were there doing, the roughly, I found it's about $20 to $25 an hour I can pay. And it's been averaging about 20 to 25 hours a month for them to go in and be doing the security checks and doing the walkthroughs and, turning the units and doing minor repairs and things like that, being the boots on the ground. And we were able to get that relatively quickly, frankly, the first, couple of weeks of kind of the shutdown. So we had to make that change quick. But then, looking at the financials and doing the bookkeeping and all that, and I started just do, some black and white, kind of seeing we're not skipping a beat. In fact, we're actually renting more units and payroll's a little bit less and, that kind of thing. I just started seeing them. So I'm all in, jumped all in, transitioned my sites over, and now I'm focusing more on the automated remote. I got to check myself too. Remote managed properties for my property management company because it just fits so many people's sites, and it's just a great fit that way. So again, that was in a nutshell. All right, what else we got? We're just gonna do this. We're gonna go quick through these questions. All right, what property size is ideal for remote property management? Again, I can speak from my experience. I have a couple owners that they have multiple locations, and some are smaller and some are larger. So maybe these smaller sites just by themselves, maybe wouldn't be the greatest fit. Like the smallest one, have is like 21,000 square feet. It's 150 units. But it actually, makes enough money to justify for third-party management. That's great. If you're doing self-managed property, of course. I mean, it's all the more reason to do this kind of model because you don't want to be stuck with that big, that big payroll bill every single month. That just totally eats into your margins, and it's just not the best fit. You don't have to do it that way anymore. That's the whole point. So I go from that extreme all the way up to right now. I think the largest I have is 132,000 square feet. We're running that automated as well. If there's a question coming up that kind of talks about some of the factors in that, which I'll get into there, but just want to just kind of lay it out there that, yeah, it runs the full gamut of small to large, that this works out well. And let's just say, argument's sake, we're not talking about even full remote, of not having, a manager in place. All the other tools that come along with this, of course, you need to have at your facility, for, like I said, call center, people taking the calls when the manager's not being able to answer the phone, it's ringing somewhere, you just don't want it to go to voicemail, okay? Having the boots on the ground guy, that's their focus, of the maintenance. Just focusing on what they are good at and what the responsibility is. That's been fantastic switch for me of looking at it that way. But then everything else that comes along with that, the auto text and the emails for collections and how about the collections and sending out the gate codes and like Da Vinci locks and things like that. the things are there. The tools are there now. I remember back in the day when I was a manager and I was managing at one location and I was running another site as like a satellite, trying to do what I'm doing now 20 years ago. No, it just didn't work. The tools weren't there. The technology wasn't there. Well, it's here now. It's basically given to you on a silver platter. You just have to just look at it, evaluate, and if nothing else, just try it. Just try these things on for size. It's the sites that, what I've been doing so far has been great, and blah blah blah. And it's, why break it? It doesn't need fixing. Everything's fine. You're going to get left behind, is what I would like to stress. You just always want to be constantly and never-ending improving on your operations and embracing technology and trying these things out. That's a big part of it, okay? And trust me, it's there. They're all there to make you money. Sometimes I talk with owners like, oh, it's expensive. Frankly, no, none of the stuff that we talk about when these tools are there and they're built for you to help you operate your storage facility. It's not an expense. It's a small investment that's making you a lot more money on the back end. Okay. What else we got? How do you handle unit access? Have you used electronic locking systems? Cool. Good question. My properties are not, at least the ones I have right now, they're not, brand new out of the gate properties that, it's been built in to be able to have like a no key system, electronic locking system. Just don't have that. I would love it if a property like that came along that I could manage, just so I could have the experience of using it. I just personally haven't used it yet, but I would love to. So currently right now for handling unit access for my facilities, they're more of the traditional sites, that I manage. It's a simple, Da Vinci lock on there. So cool. Someone goes on, they're on their phone, they rent a unit. Sweet. Make sure I can hear this. Yep, good. They go on, rent their unit. Cool. They get on their text and email saying, here's the code for the gate. Awesome. All right, cool. They go in, roll the door up. There's a lock in there for them. So that's remote access for the gate. It's all just tied in with the system. And if your gate system and store software doesn't communicate and doesn't do that for you automatically by sending the gate code and they rent, might be time to change. But that's pretty much standard now. Okay. Another question that kind of leads into this with unit access. So let's say if you're late, okay, and I get that question a lot too. Okay, what if they're late? There's no one there to take the lock off for them. Well, that's when, I'm sure we've all heard now that Da Vinci lock systems. It's this simple technology, solves a common problem. It's genius in its simplicity, if I can say that right. Just because, cool, yeah, I'm late. I make my payment. I go to my unit. Crap, there's an overlock on there. Okay, well, I would have gotten a code after I made my payment to make it current, saying, "Hey, thank you for your payment. Sweet. Here's the code to take the lock off your unit." The end, and they'll take it off. When the maintenance guys are doing their rounds, doing the security checks, and the customer hasn't been there yet to take the lock off, and it's paid up, cool. We'll just take the lock off for them. But it just saves that time gap if the customer comes before the maintenance guy gets there to be able to access their unit. They'll get a code to take the lock off. Take the lock, put it in the drop box. That's in front. Cool. Everyone's happy. You move on. Okay. It ain't complicated. All right. What are some of the concerns or challenges when it comes to remote management? Should have thought about some of these questions before I typed them in. Some of the concerns or challenges when it comes to remote management. I don't have many because I've seen it so many times. I'm going to put myself in the position of an owner. Frankly, I'm putting myself in the shoes of an owner that's evaluating, is this a good fit for me? Things that I've heard. Okay, it's like, wow, I'm gonna have a lot of security issues. I'm gonna get broken into day and night because people are gonna seek me out because I don't have a manager on location. They're gonna have a target on my back for that. Well, I say, well, when things do happen in the storage, crap happens. All right, we get break-ins, we get stuff like that. It doesn't happen in the middle of the day. It happens at nighttime anyway. The manager's gone anyway. So it makes really no difference that way if it's unattended or manager's there from 9 to 5. All this crap's going to happen at night anyway. Okay. So that's the first thing I always, recommend is like that. It's not the case. That's kind of a concern that doesn't bear much fruit for that. I don't worry about that too much. Challenges with the remote management is just honestly going through the systems of getting the things set up. When it comes, like I'm saying, I try to break the systems. I'm going in there and renting units and making sure, cool, I've rented the unit. I'm not getting a code. I'm not getting a code. What happened? And always kind of checking those kind of systems when I'm paying a late unit. Make sure I'm getting that code to be able to take the lock off for the customer. Just going through the process. Really, when it comes down to move-ins, okay? Because if you're doing remote management, you're going to live and die by having a great website on your that's mobile friendly. Obviously, they can do it's very easy to know. Cool. Here's where I go to make a move in. Here's where I go to pick my size, and here's how I rent the unit. I'm out. Try to get that done in like 5 minutes or less. Okay. And a lot of times, some of these websites I see, I ain't gonna cut it. So that's a challenge. You're gonna have to update your website and make sure it's much, much more user friendly, and making sure the moving process is simple and it just guides them through step A to Z. Shouldn't be that many steps, but you know what I mean. And under a 5-minute time frame, if you got that, sweet, cool. You're ahead of the game, and just always trying to look at it and always kind of updating and looking at it and just making sure the systems, once they're in place, that something didn't break on the way. So, like I said, you're doing the test move-ins. If you're doing the call center, you're actually checking the tracking the calls and listening to calls and how they're being performed, calling yourself, doing secret shopping and that kind of stuff. Just not out of mind, being proactive and staying on top of things. And like I said, ultimately, that's if you're self-owning, if you're owner self-managing, cool, knock yourself out. Or if you're having a property management company do that for you, well, they better be doing their job and checking these things as well. I don't want to keep blabbing on too long. I got more questions. Let's keep going. Is remote management here to stay? Yeah. Frankly, the model's been proven for years and years before COVID. It's been around a long time. Great model. It just took, unfortunately, that event to kind of put it in the spotlight and for people to be able to see, oh, wow, you got some before and after comparisons now, okay? And the more people that have done it, I haven't seen anyone that's gone remote that's been like, oh, never mind, it didn't work, and I've gone back to traditional. It just hasn't happened. It's just been successful everywhere that it's been implemented at. So I think it's here to stay. And frankly, I think it caters more to the way consumers want to be served. Okay. I mean, going to a hotel and you're buying your airline tickets, and heck, just going to McDonald's and using the kiosk, that kind of a thing. It's there. That's consumer behavior. They're used to doing it this way. I love our storage industry, but sometimes I feel like we're 10 years behind the times with a lot of things. And it took COVID to kind of kick us in the butt to be like, all right, we got to step up our game. And now we're actually just to the point where people were a few years ago. Okay. This is how they want to be served. This is how they want to be able to rent a unit. They don't want to have to come into the facility and talk to the manager and go through all that. They want to be able to sit on the couch, do it on their phone. Sweet. If they have questions, concerns, they want to be able to reach somebody. I mean, obviously, they want to have good customer service that way, but they don't need to be having to go to the site ahead of time anymore. And maybe going back real quick, that might have been a concern as well. I'm like, oh, people still want to see the unit, look it up. So, oh, if this is my 10 by 20, cool, I can visualize this will fit. That was my concern too. I was like, oh man, people are going to be going in, getting these units and being like, nope, wrong size. I need to transfer to a location or other size unit, that kind of thing. It hasn't happened that much. No more than it did before when we still had a manager there and showing the unit and roll it up and they start moving their stuff and realize, oh, that's the wrong size. It hasn't happened that much more than it did before. So again, this goes back to having a good website, good pictures, good visualization of what will fit in the unit. Okay. What else we got here? A few more questions. All right, what are some of the best practices for remote management? I kind of hit that during the course of some of these questions here. For best practices, let's just go down the line real quick. Obviously, when it comes to the call center, whoever's taking your calls, they got to be the best. Okay, it can't just be the same one. Yeah, go to the website, make a reservation. You're good. Oh, you want to run a unit? Just go to the website. No, still the self storage manager. They are the self storage counselor, whatever you want to put it, remote manager, whatever. They should be able to help that customer that's calling. Because trust me, I wish people just go online and just make a unit, run a unit online, and never talk to anybody. It's still a ton more people, more often than not, they're still calling and talking to somebody. So that call center better be on top of things, be able to have great customer service, being friendly, being able to help them to rent the unit before they hang up the phone from beginning to end. Okay, that's going to be key. Actually going to the facility and having the place clean, secure, the units are being turned on a timely manner. And that comes down to the maintenance tech that's there for, like I said, those 5-6 hours a week kind of a thing, of having a good schedule. Mine basically is cool. If you can hit that place at least 3 times a week, that's enough so the units aren't sitting for days and days on end, waiting to be cleaned and to turn. Because again, if it's not getting turned quickly, that's lost money. Okay. So having that workflow works out very well. So you have to get that schedule in place when they're going out, turning the units as quickly as possible. Okay. I've seen some places where like, oh, they go once a week. Yeah, well, those units are sitting for 6 or 7 days that you could have been renting out and making money. So you have to keep that in mind. So even if it's, they're going there for an hour, hour and a half, it doesn't take that long to turn a couple of units. Okay. So best practice there. On the customer's point of view, kind of already hit on it. Great website, easy to move in. Physically at the location, signage is very important. You need to be able to communicate. This is how you rent the unit. A lot of people give QR codes. Here's the QR code to go to the site to be able to rent the unit. Any questions? Here's our phone number. Making that very visible. All right. So I talk to people that've gone and they're doing a lot of market studies and going to locations. They're like, holy, I've been seeing all these sites that there's no one here, but I wouldn't know what to do if I showed up to try to rent a unit. There's nothing to guide me on what to do. What do they expect? So that's a biggie. I'll have to do another segment. I'll just kind of just go on signage and just show you some examples. That'll be kind of fun. We're storage nerds when I say it'd be fun looking at signage, but it's true because I get that question a lot. All right, that's next. Okay. At what size does remote property management start to fall apart? Or can it handle large properties? Good question. Okay. This kind of goes back to my last question about turning units quickly. Frank, like I have like I said, 132,000 square foot facility right now that I'm currently running as unmanned because we're full. Okay. We are definitely full. I don't think this particular location, I would have started it that way. I think I probably still would have had maybe like a hybrid, would have still had a manager on property during rent up. Because there were times we were renting 130 units a month. That's no exaggeration. It was crazy. There was just too much activity. There was too much going on for my own comfort level to be like, I'm not going to have, a manager of this property. No, I needed someone there to be able to just quickly go through, help customers. Things were coming up. There was just too much going on, too much activity. But now that we're full, we're having, 5 to 8% turn as people are leaving, that it's easy enough to keep up on it and cleaning those units and changing those over and be able to fill them right back up consistently. So like I said, it's never a one size fits all. So that's kind of an example there that maybe just during a rent up, I wouldn't have done it that way. I would still have a manager on site. But again, I know people, other in this industry that no, that's line in the sand. No, we're doing it remote. from day one, and in large facilities, and they're doing just fine too. So it's really, a conversation to have with the owner, and just to go through it and gauge it and test. Okay. All right. Looks like I think it's the last question. Okay. All right. What advice do you have for operators looking to transition to the remote managed model? All right. Okay. Same kind of thing. Having this consultation. What I've talked with owners, again, when I come on board, owners will call me. It's like, all right, cool. Rip the Band-Aid off. We're going all in. We're making this change. Have this conversation with some owners that are just like, I just want to see if they could be a fit, evaluate. That's their, kind of their risk tolerance level. Cool. Totally awesome. I respect that. That's great. You want to make sure you're making the right decision for your property. So what I recommend, all right, this is it's a traditionally staffed facility. So look at the manager on property. First step is, right, we're going to implement call center. Okay. They can catch calls when they're not answering, or you can just flip the switch totally altogether and have that call center taking all the calls, which is what I recommend, frankly. If you're going to test it out, go all out and just test that center, because they're going to answer the phone, frankly, better, because these agents, that's what they do. They're just getting the reps in. Okay. Greater the calls, you'll get longer service hours. Okay. Sometimes 10 hours a day, a lot of times 6 days a week, and then sometimes part on Sundays, but a lot more availability than you would in a traditionally staffed facility. Okay. For the calls. That's the first thing I do is, cool, 30, sometimes 60 days, but at least 30 days, do a call center, test it out. Definitely put in, like I said, the Vinci locks. That's something to easy put into your sites, for, older kind of location, for the different those kind of latches. If it works, cool. Test those out, put those on, just start seeing how it works. When you put an overlock on and tenant makes a payment, they're getting that code, and they're like, oh, sweet, I don't have to, go out there and worry about that. They still have access to take that lock off when they they beat me to it, as a manager. So that's kind of the first two steps that I look at putting in place, because frankly, the call center thing is the most important, because that's the crux of it all. That's really the most important piece. And once owners start seeing that it's actually working and still renting the units the way it should be, then that's just the next step, is just, cool, flipping the switch and going fully automated and remote managed. Granted that you have a decent website and the online move-ins are working. Okay. That's a given. If you have that, you got to do that piece first. Okay. So anyway, I really hope this helped going through some of these questions, and, I'm getting more and more of these kind of questions coming in as well. So I wanted to just take the time to address some of these. It's fun. Like I said, it's not like it's a brand new model. It's been around for a long time. Now it's just getting the attention that it deserves, because it really helps out for so many facilities, and so many owners are really reaping the benefits of it. So I invite you, thank you for sticking around for this long. If you want to go to 3milestorage.com, you go there, you'll see a few things there. On the very top is a gift for you. I've kind of put together everything I've done over the years, put it in one package with my summits and the book and courses and that kind of stuff. It's all there for you. It's just my way of saying thanks for tuning in, checking things out. Appreciate that. Next level down, step 2, you'll see a time. It's a booking calendar. I give myself about an hour and a half each day. Basically, I just block out time to spend 30 minutes with you. Want to book a time? My goal in those 30 minutes, especially if you're an existing facility, is I got 30 minutes to find 3 ways to make you more money. Okay. Whether it be through marketing, revenue management, these kind of operational inefficiencies, all that kind of stuff. We can get a lot done in 30 minutes. And the people that have taken me up on that, they're very grateful they did. So, and that's fun, because a lot of times I get exposed to new questions and way things that people are done, and that helps me keep a finger on the pulse on what's going on in the industry. So you'll see those things again at 3milestorage.com. Again, I will let you guys go. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon. Take care. As a thank you for watching and listening, I'd like to give you the most incredible free gift ever, designed to increase your leads, rentals, and revenue for your self-storage business. It's called the Ultimate Self-Storage Management Playbook, and it contains courses, past summits, my book, and so much more. You can get all of this for free right now at 3milestorage.com. That's the number 3milestorage.com.